Thank you all for coming. This is the second best session at this time. We know the future of C# is your first choice, but we appreciate you joining us here. I'd actually like to watch that session while the session is going on this monitor, just so I don't miss any details. My name's Dan Fernandez. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Paul Yuknovich, or unfortunately for me, Paul Yuck. And I'm the Group Program Manager for the Azure Tools Group.
So, and
Yep.
I work for Paul.
Yep.
My title is officially Principal Program Manager Manager. So I had the word manager in there twice, which is great.
We have worker roles nonstop working on our titles and the titles of slides, so it's great.
Yeah, so, or as Paul likes to call me from a title perspective, his constant disappointment.
Oh.
I think that's the how he likes to roll. So, as you can see, we have two things we're talking about. 2013 Update 2 RC, which is available, and the .NET Azure SDK 2.3. So you want to give the SDK design goals?
Yeah, sure. So when we set out to build the SDK and the tools, really the top thing we had in mind is how do we make your developer experience better? And just how do we make life better for you, both building cloud apps, but also just using the power of the cloud to develop any kind of app, including on-premise apps. That's something that we're actually going to talk about today. So clearly, these are different times. We absolutely just need to be laser focused on what you guys need us to do and what you guys need us to make easy. So we really, really, really are driving the SDK on your requirements. I'd really love to talk to each and every one of you today if we have time. Also, we have things like the user voice that I hope you guys all know about, and you all submit your feedback there. We watch that actively. Some of the things we'll show you today are right out of top user voice voted things. So that's super cool. And then one thing that's quite different about the way we ship SDKs and tools, given kind of the box products I've worked on before, we're shipping about every 3 months. So we've got to be super fast. If I think about 12 years ago, I was right here on the stage. We were talking about the biggest advancement in about 5 years, which was the thread pool. Maybe about 4 years ago, cloud service was probably the only game in town, so web and worker roles. And now there's websites, there's mobile services, there's cloud service paths, there's IaaS, there's the resource manager model that lets you do more with IaaS. There's about 22 other services in Azure. So things are just moving super lightning fast. We want to keep up with that. We want to keep up with the trends, really in your industry. So we got to ship super, super fast and be really just kind of agile. So with that said, also, we're hearing that your upgrade cycles are about maybe once a year for the SDK on average. Is that about right for you guys? Like, you guys want to throw that out? Throw out some numbers. How often do you guys update SDKs? Ladder? Every 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Other answers? Okay, so there's actually kind of a wide variety, but we know things are constantly moving. You pick up when you can. Another thing is we want to support multiple versions of VS so that doesn't have to come into the equation for you. So we always try to support the current and the previous. And if you have, let's say, the 2.3 release of the SDK, you're up to that top level. And we're doing something that's a little bit different now, too. You're actually starting to see features of the Azure SDK and features of Azure tooling are actually in the box now, too. So the ability to connect to your Azure subscriptions is right in Visual Studio 2013 and in the update, too. And we're going to add more and more of that kind of core foundational tooling inside of VS, and then more of the super agile SDKs that you can just get a quick download away. So
Great.
That were the goals.
It is available to download now, so you all can just do a search for Azure.NET SDK 2.3. And just quick show of hands, how many of you are using Azure websites? Azure websites? OK, good amount. How about VMs? OK, and cloud services? OK, I think I saw like a lot of the same hands go up. How about, let's see, anybody using Amazon Web Services? A couple hands. Just keep them up for the photo.
Yeah.
We got it? OK, good. How about Google App Engine, anyone? OK, I was wondering, OK, those are the Google employees? Good.
Yeah, we have openings.
All three of them?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
There really is a lot going on. And as you can see, Paul mentioned all the different things going on. And I think one of the big things that we're seeing is people aren't using one of the best benefits that we have is the MSDN subscription. So how many people use your MSDN Azure benefit?
Oh, sweet.
Yes. And for those of you who don't, the hands that didn't go up, remember you have up to $150 for free every month to do dev and test. So it's literally just money you can use. The classic one is just Bitcoin mining at the very least. Now remember, it's dev and test. So you have to build an app that you are dev and testing to Bitcoin mine, and then you can actually do it.
Yep.
So lots of cool stuff going, and make sure to use those benefits. But let's actually talk about some of the key themes here. And we're going to get right into code in 60 seconds.
So I'm getting in the way of your code. All right, so main things that we're thinking about. First thing, we have to make it way easier to get started with Azure. So that's a lot of the focus that you're seeing here. Things like sign in, no more worrying about certificates, getting that dev test environment right away, just having your dev environment ready to go with Azure. So that's really a big focus. Second thing I talked about, we want to make your life better in Visual Studio, even whether or not you're building a cloud app. So you're actually seeing that you could use Azure as your dev test host and your dev test environment source. And that app you're building could still go back on-prem. So that's pretty cool. But obviously, it's super slick if it goes to Azure. And then the third thing is kind of what you'd classically think we'd focus on as a tools team. It's about building the application. It's about having the best debugging tools. I think of the 44 announcements, we definitely had quite a few of those. Actually, let's snap over to the next one. So you can see a couple examples of things that we did, big investments and kind of like sign in, the file new experience, the Server Explorer enhancements. That's actually way, way better. You shouldn't have to use the other guy's stuff in any cases anymore. We can say that now, right?
Sure, sure.
Okay. You shouldn't have to. I'm fine if you do. In terms of dev test, there's just a number of things that we do there, from creating VMs. We even, I don't know if you know this, but we have a VM that actually has Visual Studio on it, has web deploy, has IIS, has the ability to install SharePoint, has the ability to give you an AD, has the ability to give you a farm. So we're really trying to take that dev test experience and make it super easy. We give you the PowerShell scripts that can do a continuous deployment directly to it. That makes it easy. And just a bunch of streamlining. Some things that maybe we won't hit quite as much in this talk, but I want to make sure we hit. In user voice, you guys told us, hey, we want the SDKs to really keep up with the advancements across the platform. So there's things like the storage library 3.0 that came out that lets you work with cores, lets you work with the new JSON v3 format. So those libraries are now integrated, and we're trying to be a bit more aggressive, a bit more agile to get that stuff to you. Also, just yesterday it was announced there's the Azure Resource Manager. So as a separate download, you can get those commandlets. There's also client libraries. So that makes it easier to even work with this new kind of style of grouped resources that you can deal with at runtime. And then super cool things, kind of my pride and joy is we have a range of things that make it easy to use what you know about .NET, build cloud applications, push them easily, and then really have those top troubleshooting tools, which Dan's going to show, all the way from sending test messages to getting the right live traces, even remote debuggers. So that's something you just kind of can't do anywhere else. Yep. So cool stuff.
All right, let's go into it. So we are gonna, we want to cover as much stuff that's new in the SDK. And it's gonna be very code focused. I'm gonna be going pretty fast here.
Dan, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna breathe down your neck as you do the demos.
Yes. All right. So the first demo, Visual Studio 2013, file new project.
Oh, we're not seeing it.
And you are not seeing it. Duplicate. All right. Thank you, MSIT, for reminding me during my talk that, OK, that's great. All right. So ASP.NET Web Application. Let's give it a new name. We'll call it Build Daniel FE New. It's great. So just a couple things. I'm just going to choose ASP.NET MVC, and we'll talk about this. So if you're an MSDN subscriber, or actually for Windows Azure, you get 10 free websites. I'm just going to sign out here just so you'd see what the experience would be like if you were not in it. And I'll click Remote Resources. And what this is going to do is provision a website or a virtual machine for you in Azure. And you get up to 10 free websites. Let me just choose website here. I'll manage subscriptions, and I'll sign in. I'm just going to zoom out so we can actually see this. And I'm just logging in with my credentials.
Is that an organizational account?
It is an organizational account.
That's
what a great
cool.
talking point.
Yeah.
We support organizational accounts. So I'm going to go ahead and just click OK. And you'll notice it gives me the name, make sure that it was available. It gives me the region, West US. Because I've built sites before, it remembers that. Otherwise, it'll default you to 1. And I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. So underneath the covers, and again, I'm going to click Publish right away. And the key point here is we make it really easy for you to build and deploy to Azure. So it's literally right in there. And I'm just going to wait until this is done. And we'll go ahead and click Publish. And hopefully, if you all have been tracking, maybe we did this in, say, under a minute. And I'll just push this here. So the web publish activity tells me that it's now ready. I'm going to go ahead and click Publish. Now, what we did is, in that file new, you didn't have to build this at all. We took all the metadata from that file new option that you have, and you didn't need to add any of this. So I can, in fact, just click Publish. And hopefully, this will be the fastest publish to Azure at build today. And we've now published our basic website. And I'll give this a second to load. So there's our basic website. We've done nothing. We've published just in a couple of minutes. And this is awesome, especially even if you're an enterprise developer. Say you have to, we have some change, and we want to make sure what's going on. It'd be great to just take our code, publish it up to Azure, and then kill this website, test something out, kill. It's a great way to be able to do this iteratively. OK. So let's go ahead and just make some changes to our site. So we have this website. We're going to go in here. And first, let me just click on the index page. And we'll just full screen this here. And we'll just do some real simple razor here, nothing fancy. I just want to be able to show, actually, maybe we'll push this up here. So it's in the Jumbotron. OK. We're going to click Save. Now, we're going to do a couple other changes here. Let's add some just diagnostic stuff in the home controller. So when there's a request to our page, we'll get this controller. And we'll just start writing trace. And I'll do control dot. Hopefully, this should be, we'll do right trace info. Hello. Trace dot trace warning. Warning. All right, so we did some real basic stuff to be able to get some messages. And what we're going to do is turn on tracing for this website. So under Windows Azure, we have a lot of new things in this website view. So I'm just going to give this a second to refresh. And we should see our website. I called it Build Daniel FE New. And first thing I'm going to do is go to Settings. And we'll just zoom in here. And I'm just going to turn a bunch of these features on so we can see. We'll do application logging. And you can even do remote debugging. I'm not going to show remote debugging in this context. But we'll just click Save. All right, we made a bunch of changes. We changed our home controller. One of the things is, wouldn't it be nice if we had a way to actually see what's on the server versus what's on the client? So because we've published, you do have to publish once. Right-click on a file. Actually, we'll start with our index here. And preview changes to index.cshtml. And we'll see if this works. And there we see, ooh, so it's showing me the stuff that's different and new on the server. And I'll actually show you can make changes to that as well. But let's go ahead and just click Publish so we have our new stuff. And put that stuff in the cloud. And our blazing fast Hello World application is deploying great.
Dude, a few years ago, we were bragging about a 10-minute deploy. So this is pretty cool stuff.
All right, so code is working. Time is updating. Hooray, hooray. So let's go look here. And I'm going to click Refresh. And just a couple things here. One, I have a list of files within my website. So if I want to actually see, and to be fair, this isn't everything. So notice there's no controllers here. This is if you need to, on a website, make a change like, oops, the JavaScript path should be .. You want to make that quick update, but there's clients connected. You don't want to break them. What you can do is actually double-click a file here. And I'll go ahead and just click Getting Started, ! So I've made a change to this file. And notice the title of the file is remote. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And let's just zoom in here. This will save your changes to Windows Azure. So we've made just a small incremental change. And because it didn't need to recompile and do the new DLL, that new change is up. And I think we're in this browser. And hopefully we'll see an exclamation mark. All right, awesome. So very cool feature, brand new, that allows you to make those changes. And you do want to do this, I'd say, sparingly.
Yep.
Because now maybe some of the changes are out of sync. And a lot of times people want to control what they're deploying. So
Or let's say a team member could break your demo like minutes before.
yes.
Not that that would ever happen.
Not that that did happen at build.
Right.
Great. So let's see just some other stuff here. Like what happened if I just go to login? Well, that page doesn't actually exist, right? So what information can I actually see about my website? So I'm going to, under log files, because I turned on a bunch of this stuff, one, I can see application messages. So, and of course, I can see the streaming log as well. And that's existed since 2.2
Yep.
or even
2.2. Yep.
2.2. So these are the messages of me going to the web page, and you can see that the time that that executed. So you can see all the trace information for it under application.
The cool thing about the logging is you actually don't need to redeploy to even change those settings or turn things on and off. So that was one of the principles we had in mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
And for those of you familiar with using IIS, you get things like your W3 service log, right? And here are all the requests. So I can use this. There's a great log parser that exists that's an open source. You can take this log parser and see how people are using your sites. Everything is in Server Explorer now, and you can easily see it just by setting those quick on-off options. And another great feature that's existed in IIS for a while and is now available, if we double-click this, this lets me see things like my error codes. So in a situation where, if you look here, there's a 404, it gives me all the information directly from Visual Studio of errors happening in my application. And if you're doing something much more complex, like you're owning the request pipeline and it's your code and modules and so on, I mean, you can go super deep here and see the request trace and see all the different information here, or see a performance view, and even see down to the millisecond. Right? These are things like people really loved and wanted to be able to have. It's now available directly from Visual Studio. Is that awesome?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
I don't know if they think so, but
OK, yeah. I forgot. I'm talking to you. OK.
OK. One little just cool thing we did for you here, too. You can see this is just a raw XML file. And that would be really nasty to work with. But we just brought in the ability to view XSL style sheets that you have in a little metadata, and it shows right up in VS. So
yeah, let me just
little touches like that.
Exactly right. So if you were to actually open this raw, this would be pretty nasty.
Yep.
So because that XSL comes, you get all the nice formatting of that data. So a lot of cool stuff on websites. What I want to do is kind of transition to another website. So we talked about kind of a file new one. We've actually been running one at the conference, which is our Blackjack bot service. And what this is, I'm actually going to just switch to the project and run some of the clients. So we built a SignalR game service that allows people, clients, to play blackjack against each other. So there was, did anybody participate in the couple hands? Did any of you win? No? OK, because I was going to ask for resumes. There are some pretty awesome scores on there. Let me actually just run this. So I'm running a worker role, a console app, and a WPF app kind of at the same time. And one of the key things to take away here, so we're talking to a SignalR website, and we have different clients. So you can use a .NET client and a console. I can also have a worker role. And the coolest feature that we've done in 2.3 is we've made Emulator Express the default emulator for cloud services. So what that means is, how many of you have seen the, oh, you can't run this because you're not open in Visual Studio Administrator mode? Anybody see that? And how many of you love that? Yeah. So it's now gone as the default. So if you're doing this, you are now going to be using Emulator Express, which is great. So so I have a bot that's just playing. Actually, let me.
And if you're wondering what's different about Express, we wrote a doc about it. It's things like single instance. You can do multi-roles. That's still cool.
Yeah, so here you see if you do need the ability to do multiple instance, multiple roles, you can set this by default. If you have existing projects, we won't change your emulator for you. But all this is in a worker role, I'm setting the process to emulator express.
Yeah, the goal we had in mind is, initially you're probably doing functional kind of unit testing kinds of things. So we want it to be just blazingly fast, low friction. When you want that fuller fidelity experience, flip to the full emulator, or better yet, just publish it to Azure, because that's really where you're going to get the best fidelity testing anyway.
So I'm just going to go into the compute emulator, and this is the emulator express here. So now we're seeing a worker role that's trying to play blackjack. And I'm just going to join here as well so we can see another visualization of this. And with any luck, this will actually work.
Holy smokes, 36,000.
One of two. Oh, looks like somebody's already, looks like I already joined in here. But the key point, actually what I wanted to take away with, is one, all these things are running. The emulator express works exactly the same way that you'd expect in a worker role. So you're able to see those diagnostic messages. And some folks have done some awesome stuff. So you started with a $1,000 balance and in 50 games got 36,000 for the key winner. And mind you, the key thing, a lot of people say Azure websites doesn't necessarily scale. We had, I think it was over like 140,000 requests in less than 24 hours, which is about 4.5 million requests a month if we were to do it in a month, as people were just pounding this service, playing blackjack. And we had literally one website. One website, and it stood up. So lots of cool stuff. And all these samples
really,
are
when
available.
I think about the differences, I think about how much control do you need actually over the OS. So with Web and Worker and IaaS, you can install your own software, take complete control. Websites is just a great paths for a front end, right? So and they work together. So both.
Yeah. So that's the next demo I wanted to show is actually just a fun one showing some of our native debugging features. So let me just quickly, actually I have it open in Firefox. There we go. So what we wanted to show is if we're talking about native code, we now have the ability to native debug. So we thought, well, this is a great option if you are a developer and want to be able to use existing C++ libraries, because most of the time you want to consume libraries, you're not necessarily going to be writing the C++. There's a great one called OpenCV, which is a computer vision library. So we said, hey, wouldn't it be great if you could actually get this working? So the way this works is, let me actually just walk you through the code first, and then we'll actually do the demo. So this is a real.
My C++ is a little rusty, so I could use the help.
We'll try and stay away from too much of the C++.
Okay. Yep.
But so this is just JavaScript. We are going to drag and drop an image onto here, and we're using a dropZone.js form. And what we do is on that form action, when it's actually uploaded, we have a controller named upload files. So you take that image, upload it to the server, and then what the JavaScript is going to do on the page, because we didn't want to reload the page, it's basically going to poll. Every 2 seconds, we are going to be waiting for a result, right? So it looks for the result and then actually returns the data using as a base64. And this is a la the guy who wrote the demo did some nice stuff here, including when it actually writes to that home controller, that file upload controller. Let me just full screen this so we can see. We upload a file, and we get a block blob, and we write a queue message, basically saying, hey, look, I don't want to process the image now in that current request. What I want to do is use, and this is a common pattern that developers are using, use a worker role. So this thing is just writing to blob storage as fast as possible. We can spin up multiple roles to do these long-running processes like process an image. And we had like OCR demos in here and OpenCV for image processing for the effect and everything. So we've now written it to a queue and a blob. And this page does nothing else. Now when we actually want to process it, now we have a worker role. And I do have some breakpoints here. But basically all we do is wait, see if there are images. If there's no images, wait 1 second and then go. And then we just start reading it off, and we're going to process it in C++. And let's just kind of show what this all looks like. So on the left side, in Windows Azure, I have my OpenCV C++ demo. And I have my worker role. And I'm going to attach a debugger. So I need to select and make sure to select both managed and native. And here's a list. What I'm looking for is that WA worker host. That's where worker roles are going to be hosted. And I click Attach. Am I sure? Yes. OK, let's give this a second to load all the symbols. And I think it's going to be ready. Let me minimize. So I got an image here. And let's just get this, drag and drop this image right here. OK, it's written.
Whoa.
OpenCV, and look, we have a breakpoint. So this is remote debugging going on here. I'm going to click Continue, and look, we are in C++. We're
That's nuts.
This is crazy.
Yep.
So I have no idea what's going on here, and I don't want to touch anything. But the cool thing is you can actually get in here, and not only that, I'm going to click Continue. So you, as a developer, you're going from .NET to native back to .NET, and you get it all within Visual Studio. So that's awesome from a developer experience.
Yep.
And I'll go ahead and click Continue. And we see this awesome filter on my picture. So I think one of the key things to take away is, one, is the great debugging experience. And really, it's a great way for you to reuse C++ code that exists that does very processing-intensive things on the web. And of course, use C++ where it makes sense, as you were saying, Paul. So let's actually build, I think I have a basic mobile service here. So I'm going to switch to that. So all this is I've done a file new, and actually maybe I'll just show you.
Who's doing mobile development right now? Cool. Who wants to? There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet.
Actually, well, I'll just show just real quick. To localhost has been stopped, yes. When you do the manage to native debugging, it'll tell you that, hey, there's stuff going on. And remember, it actually takes that site out. So because it's on a breakpoint, it's effectively waiting for you. And all I'm doing is clicking Windows Azure Mobile Service. That's what I've done so far in that other app. And I'll just click Cancel and open that project back up again. Recent projects, basic mobile service. OK, so the idea behind this is we used to have Azure mobile services, and they were JavaScript mobile services. In fact, that Blackjack bot, just to show you some of the new things in mobile services here on the left side, and I'll give this a second, our Blackjack bot mobile service, all that data that we were writing for those games, and we played over 40,000 different games, all of that's written in here, and it's all using JavaScript. So just real basic stuff, and you can actually edit and view JavaScript directly in here, and it's just real basic stuff. There's a great editing experience here. Now what we've done is said, hey, not just Node.js, really we want .NET mobile services. It's the features that you know and love from Visual Studio. I want to be able to have things like source control. I want to be able to do everything. And we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so we used Web API. So let's actually just show a basic controller here, and I'll say add controller. And I'll just choose this, Windows Azure Mobile Services Custom Controller. Let's click Add, and I'll just call it Basic Controller. Now, one thing to keep in mind is we're doing a real basic one. If you're looking for a data-centric one where we're actually writing data out, check out the to-do item controller, which includes this class, which is of entity data, and shows you how to do the basic, I want to be able to get something, get a specific ID, list all, update, and so on. It comes built in anytime you file new websites, so you can play around with this one.
So you get Web API, you get OData by doing that.
Exactly right.
And then this is the more operational controller approach that we're all used to.
Yeah,
and we have scaffolds for these too. I don't know if you're going to show those. But they're really easy. So you can just right-click and add a scaffold, and you get that same controller.
So what I was going to do is just real basic, just for those of you who haven't played with Web API, we'll just do a string text, and I'm just going to change stuff up here. One is, look at this services class, and I'm just going to delete this here while we go. So this services dot, and you'll see that it includes things like push, which we'll show in a second, but the ability to do logging, and access to your settings is actually another great one. So you can have a just real easy way to get at your settings. So that's all built into Azure Mobile Services. But what I want to do is just string all equals new let's just have some, let's do 10 strings. And we'll just loop through, say all.length, and we'll change the value for each one. And let's append text plus I. So when there's a request here, you give me a set of text, and then you send me back an array. And the point here is this can be a total custom type like you saw in the to-do, or it can be like a string array. It's converting all the JSON stuff for you. You as a .NET developer, I just see a method. It's got an input, and it's got an output. Those are easy things that I can use, easy things that I know and love. OK, so let's just return all. So one of the things I really love about this is we have a nice test harness, if you will, to be able to use your service. So I'm going to give this a second to load here. OK. Oh, so cute.
Hours and hours will be lost with that thing.
Yeah, I think it's going to wink at some point. There it is. Ah.
That's a little creepy almost. But.
OK, so let's click try it out. And what this is our API documentation, right? So I mentioned that to-do item, which has all those controls. As you can see here, get it by an ID, be able to do things like update, post, et cetera. Now, this is the one that we built. So let's just go play with this one and give this a second to finish loading. And we could, of course, do like more documentation here. But the nice thing is it's self-describing. So when, say, you want to be able to publish services and you're expecting people to walk up, rather than you having to do it, they can just walk up to this page. And they see, hey, look, if you make a request for this in JSON, here's kind of what it would look like. What about XML? That's kind of what it would look like. And of course, you can try this out. So this is a great way for people to walk up to your APIs. Let's just do hello build. And click send. My status is 200 OK. And here's the result that I would actually get from my service. So I know my service is working. Just give me a really easy way to walk up and use any service as a service developer. So one of the great things about mobile services is the ability to do push notifications. So this is a demo that Marwan has built, and hopefully it'll work for us. I'm going to switch to.
He's our very own demo maverick.
Yes, he's probably changing it live now.
Yep.
So what this is we are, and maybe I should just run this to show it in action, and then we'll walk through the code.
Sweet.
So this is going to be a little interactive for you all. And honestly, when we were thinking about what things to do, thought we got to make it nerdy and we got to make it controversial, right? Because this is going to be a poll that puts A against B. So we thought, what is the one thing that really just like divides dev teams? Like we got to be political and really just get people hating each other. So we thought, what kind of bracing do people do? And I'll just click here. And I think it's Kernighan and Richie. We will divide this room if we have to. So how many of you believe in the bracing style on the left, where there's a new line? Yes? Yeah. How about the people on the right? OK, you all are wrong. No. So what we're going to do is, you see that number there? What we're going to do is when we start voting, everybody can get out their phone. And this will be interactive. And I have no idea if this will work, because again, it's Marwan's code. If you want number 1, you put text 1 and a small message. If you want number 2, text 2 and a small message. And again, people, dev teams split up. You ready?
I can't.
You can't.
It'll go dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
OK, I'm going to click start voting. So you can all now send your votes. And hopefully, everybody got their cell phone out sending 713-766. So what's going on under the covers is we're actually using the Twilio API to actually be able to get these messages. It's a great NuGet library, and we'll show some of the ways that you can do this. And with any luck, now one thing I should say is we've been sending so many push notifications. The push notification may end up happening about 5 minutes, 10 minutes later.
Yeah, I think we're getting throttled now.
Yeah, so
the people upstairs aren't happy.
Yes. So Kernighan and Ritchie, of course, being the canonical C application book. And again, Almond Style, I think, is now the default in Visual Studio. So, but there's a...
So VS voted.
VS has voted. Yes!
Oh.
Woo! Awesome. 15-2. So throw new exception. All right, who's trying to break the demo? Jeez. The only way. I love it. Awesome. So cool. So the push notification.
Nice little injection attack, whoever did that. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Drop table from Dan, like a constant disappointment. Constant. OK, so let's actually show kind of what went on behind the covers. And by the way, I'm going to just show, we have a new Server Explorer notification hub here that allows you to send test messages. And like I said, this will probably
come in. So what the heck is a notification hub? Maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah, so do you want to do the quick explanation?
Yeah, sure. So when we first started, we kind of had our own pattern, I'd say, for doing notifications. And now there's actually a formal service that can really scale. It can broadcast to any kind of a device. You can actually use tags or these templates, like these XML templates, to route to very specific kinds of devices with very specific kinds of notifications. Maybe even subscribe to only like certain messages that you care about. So it's a super, super highly scalable service just to do notifications. And now mobile services actually use it by default. But one thing I love about this service, you can actually use it in really anything. You can use it in desktop apps. You can use it in ordinary websites and web APIs. So it's just this little building block service you can add to anything, but we use it by default now. Yeah, so, and there are some talks that we're linked to if you want the walkthrough, but this was used for the Sochi Olympics. So when there was an event, you could actually sign up and subscribe to events. They send out tons, millions of these messages. And the other key point here is it works cross-platform, iOS and Android. So the idea here is if I want to send a test notification, I can actually pick the different platforms or do a custom, which would send to everyone. And you can send these, what's the time? It's like 9:37, test from 9:37. We'll see when this actually pops in. Like I said, my messages are coming in pretty slowly. But just real quick, I want to show you what's actually going on underneath the covers when we actually get this data. So we're using the Twilio REST client. And again, we have kind of our secrets to get at our data. And then we do things, for example, like page through to get all the results from Twilio. And again, it's a nice REST service. I don't need to know anything about telecom services or anything else. I'm able to just loop through the different messages here. And if the message contains 1, we had challenge counter equals 1, champ counter equals 2. So again, those people are voting kind of in real time. And we're increasing this and just adding the messages. So at this point, we have a bunch of messages. We have the 15 and the 2. We have the person trying to throw an exception, and all that stuff. And then we do things like just calculate a winner. So which one's larger, this one or this one? If challenger's larger, challenger wins. If there's a tie, then we display there's a tie. Otherwise, we send a notification. So, and this is the real key here. What are we actually doing to send a notification? So we are doing that format of toast that you saw in that test notification, this XML, and then we're choosing what the text is. And it's one line of code here. Push, send async, give me that message. Services.push, send async. So it's really easy from an API surface to be able to do this. And there's a couple, there's Almond wins. I don't know if you guys saw it. Yes. Nice.
So what was that, like, we got another 3 minutes before.
Please stop throttling us. We need to do demos. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And another key thing I should say here is, and we won't go too much into it, is we do have, and I figured maybe if you wanted to talk about the Connected Services Manager. Sure. So this is an option in a Windows Store project. We have a connected service, and I'll let you.
Yeah, and I'll actually start working in every project soon. Just the basic idea is, we want to make it as easy as possible to consume services. So today, what you could always do is you could add a library, you could add a NuGet package. You write a bunch of kind of initialization code, you leave VS, you go to portals, you get keys, or you look them up in a lockbox. It's kind of a pain. So we just automated that process for you. So here in this experience, we just look into your subscriptions in Windows Azure. This is actually extensible, so any of your services could actually plug in here. But we look in, we use that sign information. We actually show you instances, and then when you pick an instance, I don't know if you want to just grab one. We actually.
I may end up breaking this demo if I
Okay,
select
yeah,
one,
don't
but
break the demo. But we know everything about the provider and how to connect to it. So we can bring that kind of connection info back into your project and actually follow kind of the idioms of the project. So this is Windows Store. So whether it's .NET or whether it's JS, we can kind of know the difference and write the right kind of code for you. And you can just start writing code immediately against the service. So do you guys think that's pretty cool? Like,
yeah.
So thanks. So I think we're going to keep going this direction, and you're going to see us take the whole Windows Azure surface and make it just really easy to pick your instances. But also, if you guys have services, you can plug them in here too.
Yep.
So.
Great.
Yep.
So, we've talked about websites. We talked about some of the stuff for cloud services, worker roles. We talked about mobile services, and now virtual machines. So,
actually, one quick thing.
Sure,
if I can just jump in. So, when I was thinking about mobile services, one I think big aha I had is you can just bring any of your own NuGet packages now, any of your own libraries, and that's something that is really, really powerful about having kind of like .NET, running in web APIs and running on the server. Also, this just gives you source code control, which was something we sorely lacked before.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Now you've got that too. So.
Yeah, if you're a .NET developer, .NET Mobile Service is kind of a no-brainer.
Yep.
So virtual machines. So we've added a couple different options within virtual machines for you to create virtual machine. Did everybody see Mark Rusinovich demo that in the keynote? OK. I won't actually go through this one because I want to show another one. And I'm just going to spin this up real quick and then go to a pre-prepared one. So we went back here, and I talked about how easy it was to get started. And sorry, let me just, any website will do. And now I'm going to choose virtual machine here. And this is kind of unique. Let me spin this up. And I'll say Daniel Effie VM live. Sure.
If you think about the portal, this is almost our quick create, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So the list of virtual machines is different than the one you saw in Server Explorer. This is just a preset list. It doesn't include every option. It does include things like 2008 R2. And really, this is another example where it'd be great to set up a dev test environment for a VM. Like you're running something in the enterprise. You want to be able to spin something up and try your app, or try a different version, try a different branch, spin up a VM, try it, and then turn it off. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick any one. Now this is awesome. This is Enable IS and Web Deploy. And here's why it's awesome, because it removes all of the work that you have to do. So I'm just going to jump to a slide. So in Azure today, as web developers, here's what you would have to do. I select the platform. I say Web Server 2012. Well, great. You now have a website, but it doesn't have IIS installed. So now you have to manually go in and turn that role on. OK, so fine, I've done that. Now I need to turn on ASP.NET 4.5 on IIS. Then I need to install and run Web Deploy. Well, I got to find where Web Deploy is. And that itself is going to run a firewall rule to do port 8172. Then you need to make sure if you're doing things like manage module extensions, you're going to want to turn that on. Then you need to register ASP.NET using ASP.NET Reg IS. And if you're running 2008 R2, then you need to set that app pool. These are all manual steps that we said, what if the customers, you all never had to do this? What if we made it a checkbox? And that's what we did.
You should charge people for this.
Wait, Visual Studio isn't free?
Oh.
Oh, shoot. So all you have to do is do Enable IIS and Web Deploy, and it'll do all these magical steps for you.
You're off the screen.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
That feature is Dan's feature, and Dan, I'm proud of you.
What?
I don't get to tell you that.
Yes, see? I'm going to redeem myself.
Yep.
I'm going to be an occasional disappointment by the time this is done. So this is spinning up. Now, virtual machines take a long time. And after it installs this software and does stuff, it's going to take a while. But I've actually already built one for us. And I did this before just so we wouldn't have to wait. So I'm going to give this a second to load up. So here's our VM web app. And one of the cool things is that we actually did in here, because it has Web Deploy, we've actually changed in 2.3, there is a new publish option. I'll just show it real quick. If you go back up to Profile, and it's slightly hidden under More Options, Windows Azure virtual machines. So if you are looking to publish to Windows Azure virtual machines, we can do that. And we can detect whether there's a web deploy endpoint as well. So I've done this before. It's already provisioned that machine. Now I can use, I can publish directly from here. And you know how we showed some of the cool diff features? Well, let's go ahead and just do another diff on this. Getting started. VM demos are so awesome. And I'm going to click Save. And of course, I got to log in. And with any luck. So all those features that we saw are web deploy features, meaning it's telling me I made a change locally. Here's what it's going to look like on the site. And deploying to a VM is automatic, right? Because it's kept all those published settings for me. I didn't have to create this profile. I just click Publish. And of course, I have to log in. Ooh, and it looks like I suck at code, though. Viewbag title on a temp. All right, let's try rebuilding. Oh, yes, yes. Oh, geez. Random code that I used before. Let's try it again.
Can't even blame Marwan for that one.
No. Yeah, this is user error. This is not the product. I'm back to constant disappointment. Publish. Log in. So look how fast it took because we have web deploy on here. That's how fast our deployment is. I mean, obviously, this is a tiny site because it's a file new. But we were able to update our web page, super easy, see the diffs, all the wonderful things we get with web deploy. And you didn't have to do any of that stuff. It's awesome. Thanks. All right.
Sweet. Hey. So Dan, you got to show them what's going on at the top of the solution. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're going to show the PowerShell.
Oh, we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to jump back and do our first website that we built, which I think we called Build Daniel FE New, if everyone remembers this one. And sorry, let's just close all documents. So what I want to show is when we actually built on that file new dialog, we actually included a couple of things. We included a JSON file that described the options that you chose in that dialog for you to deploy. And then we have two files. So let me just open up this JSON. So you can see this is the name of our website. Here's where it's located. And we can do things like have databases. And the idea here is you can customize this script. And you can run the PowerShell so you no longer need to go to that right-click publish. You can automate this and run and deploy your website wherever you want. Say you have 30 SQL databases that you need to deploy. You describe them here, and it'll automatically deploy them for you instead of having to right-click publish. Imagine, say, 30 times.
You can feed this into your own automation. You can feed it into VES Online.
Yeah, so Chris Patterson has
Team City. Like you can, I mean, this is your script.
Chris Patterson has a continuous integration, continuous delivery session that is in the list of links where he actually goes in and shows exactly how to do those things. Yep. So there's two files in here, PowerShell. And how many of you use PowerShell? A handful? OK, so I'm going to assume we're going to walk through the new PowerShell versions, if you will. So we have a PS1 file and a PS module. This really includes the boilerplate like modules, like reusable class library, if you will. This is sort of the orchestration file where we do things like, first I want to provision. Then I want to be able to deploy. So what we're going to do is just open up. And this is a new option here. And actually, let me just show the colorization as well, if I can double click. So we have a bunch of code in here, and it shows the nice colorization. Now, you can't run PowerShell in here. That's something that we're looking at doing sometime in the future. But we can open with PowerShell ISE. And it'll give this a second to open.
Right to the path. That's sweet.
Yes. So this is actually just kind of scanning the page here. So in case you're seeing, it's actually doing that quick scan. And we're going to walk through kind of what you need to do. But basically, you need to tell what account you're pushing on, what code you're going to push, which is a web deploy package, and then that JSON file that describes like the actual location, the number of websites, the number of databases, and all that stuff. So if you're new to PowerShell, the big thing that I would say is just start kind of walking with the files. And you can say help. And the file is called publish. And you hit Control space, publish web application 1. And we can say like examples. So this gives me some examples of how I could actually run the script. First thing I'm going to do is just do, let's actually just do the quick publish here. Actually, first I'll authenticate, add Azure account. And notice this is going to pop me up so I can log in.
You could send username and password too if you don't want pop-ups.
Or use your certificate as well.
Yep,
so there's a number of ways. I'm just showing.
It's good for an unattended server. Yep.
Yeah, the basic kind of interactive way to do it. So let's actually look at the script again and look at the parameters that are passed in. Publish web application 1, and I hit hyphen. So let's look at the things I need to pass in. So the first thing, I'll actually choose the subscription name first. And that is internal consumption. That's the name of my subscription in Azure. It's not the most creative name, I'm sorry. Web deploy package. So what this is looking for, and let me just show how one would do this in case you've never seen this before. So in here, I right click, I go to publish, and let's see, in publish method, instead of web deploy, I'm going to do web deploy package. So this will ask me for a path. Let's put it under demos. I think I have a web deploy packages. Select folder. It doesn't matter. Website. Great. So that's just going to package up my website, and now it's in a zip file. And that's the thing I need to pass to the script.
You could do that all from the command line too, that package part.
I'm not that cool, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so we're looking for, what did we call this? Ooh, actually, we are in, I just realized we are in a different path now that I think about it. Oh, this is going to be painful, isn't it? .. // .. .. Desktop.
While
Demos.
Dan's doing that, one thing I think is cool about this too, you saw that the JSON file has a -dev, and that's just kind of a convention saying, hey, this is a good publish profile, or basically like a dev environment. And you can have as many of those environments as you want, so that lets you do different things for dev, different things for test, different things for like a staging. And so you really get more of that DevOps feel here, and that's something we're trying to do. And make sure you also have all that config as code that you can actually just check in, or actually choose not to check in if you have your own secrets.
So, all right, we know the account. We know the web deploy package, that long zip. And now I think we just need to set the configuration, which is, as Paul mentioned, you see a number in here. I'll just do build Daniel Fee that. And hopefully, with any luck, ooh, I should have done verbose, just so we could be able to see this information. So it's
I always like deploying to the trash slot. That's a good one.
So I see some information here. And I think it's actually deployed.
Yep.
An existing website was found. OK. Yay! Wow, that's so exciting. So let me show you how you can make, remember, this is code. We're developers. We can make this so much more exciting. So what I'm going to do is show how we can make this more exciting. Let's see. One of my favorite libraries is NAudio. Have you all heard of or familiar with NAudio? Anybody that's done audio processing, there's a guy named Mark Heath who does audio processing. So what I decided to do was build a clapper. So what we're going to do is actually, this is the Azure clapper. I'm going to choose a microphone here. And this is using his symbol. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn this down. And yeah! This is so stupid. So the whole point is all of this is code, right? So you can sign up and deploy it. Like PowerShell isn't the most exciting thing, but build something interesting. Find some new, interesting way, because all it is code. And I'll just show you, like, I've done nothing. Process.start, And I'm showing the process.start way. There is actually managed libraries for PowerShell for you to call them. Everybody's probably familiar with process.start. And all I need to do is pass in a couple of those paths where the scripts, the parameter, and that zip file is. And now I've actually, by the way, I had to turn off a way because if people kept applauding, it would actually break the server,
I think it'd be awesome.
Which is great. So
a little DOS attack in the morning. It's great.
Yeah, and I think that was called I can deploy via clapping was the name of the website, if I remember correctly. I don't even remember what specific path, but I can assure you that it did actually finish executing. I was deployed by clapping. Let's see, .azure websites, and we'll just go here, and you can see that it actually did in fact deploy. I'm sure you all trust me, but. Oh, actually, we're running out of time. So I can assure you that it did do. The one thing I did want to do is show our last demo, which is actually running our PowerShell ARM demos, which is ARM scripts.
It's that new resource manager.
Yes, Azure Resource Manager, sorry. And this is, the idea here is we want to be able to describe a deployment rather than having to go to that publish. We want to be able to describe it in a way that would work cross-platform. So we use JSON to describe what are the things. Well, I'm going to have a website. I want it to be West US. I want it to have these attributes. I want a SQL database. I want it to have this collation, all the wonderful SQL settings. And all of that is just built in here. So in fact, one of the other nice features that we have is a number of improvements for JSON. So if I just do Control space here, we actually have JSON IntelliSense. Ooh, and that's all based by setting the schema value here. So right here, I'm kind of describing this stuff. And let me just, interest of time, we're going to just open up the script and run it just so you can see that it's actually deploying. Let's do CLS.
This is a cool thing, too. So you're using imperative PowerShell in conjunction with a more declarative resource manager format.
Yeah, and there's a number of sessions on Chef and Puppet and how they're doing, because you can imagine somebody that is a really complex, where they're spinning up, say, 30 VMs or 300 VMs and then spinning them back down. Somebody like a Titanfall, where you want to be able to scale. They're not going to be using, chances are, in Visual Studio Publish, right? So let's just do a couple more lines here, and I'll show you the new portal as our site is updated. And all I'm doing is just copy-paste some existing stuff to set my Azure subscription, and setting our resource group name, and with any luck, this will just go. OK, so it's starting a deployment. And this is the new portal, portal.azure.com, which hopefully you all have seen. And I already have a resource group built here. So I'm going to just kind of be, was that? No, it was in ISE. So I'm just basically waiting for this script to execute. And then eventually, what you'll see is on the portal, all the information about my website will appear here, and I'll just kind of do the left and right thing here as we wait for the script to basically run.
As the tools on the SDK team, we're really excited about this too, because we'll be able to do operations in the tooling across an entire group of resources that could map to one of your applications, let's say, or a big, interesting, SOA-based service. So, I mean, we're going to have limitless possibilities now that this thing's here.
And the script I'm running is available for download on Script Center starting yesterday. So the idea is, if you want to play with this new format, this Azure Resource Management, playing with these JSON files, provisioning state succeeded, yay! Yay! So let me just go here and refresh, and eventually we should see like a Daniel FE Demo 3 show up here. And I'll give this a second. Give them feedback on what are the things that you need for your most complex deployments, because we think we can answer those features. So with any luck, this will list our new website. And there's our Daniel FE 3 demo that we just deployed, and we can see all the details about it. So this is a great way for you to play with new features in the portal as well. So just to kind of recap, we could probably just talk about some of the different resources. So Azure Resource Group model session, definitely one to check out. For mobile services, Corey had a great what's new for IaaS developers.
Yeah, apparently comparing basic units to Settlers of Catan boxes that you could buy. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So just for that, you have to see it.
Of course, Brady Gaster doing automation everywhere. So I got to show him my Azure Clapper demo because I don't think he's seen it. I think he's going to like it. After this is an awesome session by Boris where he'll deep dive into diagnosing issues with cloud apps.
You have to see that.
And Chris Patterson as well is doing the continuous delivery, showing off some of the script automation. So again, give us feedback. We're taking your feedback. We're trying to do so much stuff. There's a lot of things we couldn't even show in this demo. So we really appreciate your feedback. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you.